ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram vasudeva swayam likyate hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham maham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hrudi vishamanasa swam chinvata majjata avanachalana atmanishto deham mrunmayavat jadatmakam aham buddharnatasyaskyatu naham tattata bhavashukti samaye siddha saddha koham bhavayuta kuto varabhiya drishtatmanishtatmana soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses of Anma bodham, relying on the Tamil translation of the Sanskrit original by Bhagavan, who says in the very beginning that Anmavin Bodhamarul Asanam Shankarana Anmavu Kanniyan Avano ஆன்மாவாய் என்னகத்தே இருந்து இன்று தமிழ் சொல்வானும் அன்னவன் அன்றி மற்றார். The one who has graced us, blessed us with this work called Atma bodha, that is Shankaran, Adi Shankara, can he be anything apart from the self? Anniyan avano, ஆன்மாவாய் என்னகத்தே இருந்து, remaining as the same unchanged Akshara self, this day, இன்று தமிழ் சொல்வானும், என் அகத்தே இருந்து இன்று தமிழ் சொல்வானும், remaining within my eye, the one who is translating this in Tamil, can it be anyone other than he, the self? That was the Mangala Shloka to this work. And two facts that have been hidden or revealed, whichever way we want to see, in that Mangala Shloka is covered by the two verses today. The two verses we are going to meditate on are verses 21 and 22. Verses 21 and 22, they cover two aspects of Ajnana, or the individual who has Ajnana is called Aviveki. In the Sanskrit verses, Avivekam, Aviveki, two manifestations of Aviveka, which are actually crossed by the Mangala Shloka. That is what we are going to see. One is associating the pure Atma, the self, with the Indriyas and their works, which Bhagavan doesn't do. He says he doesn't associate Adi Shankara with that body or himself with this body, nor the act of writing is attributed to the self. ஆன்மாவுக்கு அந்நியன் ஆவனோ, ஆன்மாவா இன்றகத்தே இருந்து இன்று தமிழ் சொல்வா, என்னகத்தே இருந்து இன்று தமிழ் சொல்வானும், remaining within my eye, revealing the same verses in Tamil. Can it be any other than the one self? So the first verse we are going to see is about how the aviveka, the ignorance, makes us superimpose the indriyas, deha, and their works on the pure self. And the second verse is going to remove another ignorance or point to another ignorance. We should remind ourselves that these are the Jnana Marga verses, indicating the or pointing to Jnanam. Not yet the Nididhyasana shlokas, but shlokas of Manana, which help clarify and then start the Nididhyasana. The clarifications given in these two verses are about the association of the pure self, which is free of all names and forms, the association with name and form, with Deha particularly, the Indriyas and the works good and bad. And the second verse is about doership. That how because of Aviveka, we attribute doership to the self, which alone is. There is no action or doing done by the self. Whereas we attribute that I did this, he did that, they did that. And here Bhagavan in the Mangala Shloka has removed the doership for both Shankara, if there existed one such person, which is what is going to be questioned in later verses of this Jnana Marga segment. Whether any Jivatma ever existed, whether Shankara ever has a separate existence apart from the self. Shankar, that also Bhagavan reveals in this verse. But the doership, that did I write or did Shankara write? No, it is the Atma which wrote or which made us write. Now, in what sense is that? That it is all Atma and there is no doing. It's only the seeing, that the action is only the self. One incident in Seshadri Swamigal's life, I don't recollect the devotee's name. So the devotee is standing near a buffalo and Seshadri Swamigal comes And in the course of conversation, they must have had some conversation. And Seshadri Swamigal asked, what is this that you are standing by? And the devotee responds, Erumai. Then Seshadri Swamigal responds, Erumaya, Erumai, Parabrahmamnu solle. Why do you call it as Erumai? Why do you call it as buffalo? Why can't you see the Brahman in it? The Brahma Swarupa in it? Why can't you see that? That is the response. There was some emotion mentioned in the write-up, but I forget to recollect that. So I don't want to venture into that, whether it was said sarcastically or with the irony or whatever was there. I can't recollect, but the words themselves are clear that we superimpose the names and forms, not only ourselves, but of everything on the self. So have that perspective, have the perspective of that incident, and let's go into the first verse with Bhagavan's grace. Deham Porihal Tihal Gunangal Vinayhal. Deham, body, Porihal, the Indriyas, Tihal Gunangal, the gunas associated with Deha and Indriyas. Then the Vinayhal, the actions. Ivai Tuya Satchitanmavil Mohatta, due to Ajnana, due to the root desire of associating with name and form, Karpippar, Suddha Gahanatil Neela Mudal Karpittal Pola Karadu. Suddha Gahanatil, Gahanam is the space or sky. Suddha Gahanatil, the sky by itself is clear. If you go in a meteorological balloon or an aeroplane, you can see that the clouds are actually very low lying and the sky is far vaster than that. But we have the perspective of the clouds only, and we have the color hues that come either due to the pollution. It is said that in the cities, the sun appears very red while setting, and that is because there is a lot of pollution. There is a lot of particles through which the rays are received and seen. So the sky by itself does not have color, does not have concavity or convexity, but all these are superimposed on the sky by the aviveki, by the one who does not inquire, but one who has inquired into that, the scientific outlook person, will not superimpose those things on the pure sky. Suddha Gahanatil Karpika Matargal. They won't superimpose those qualities on that. Similarly, what we do, we say, I am short, I am short-sighted. When I say I am short, I am associating the self, the Atma Swarupa, which is self-luminous, which is infinite. What does Bhagavan say in Ulladu Narpadu? In Ulladu Narpadu, Bhagavan says, see, we have the benefit of referring a subsequent work, so to say, a work which is to be meditated on subsequent to Atma bodham, but we have been blessed by Bhagavan to meditate on that, and we will have the temerity to draw inspiration from that to explain Atma bodham. See, the verse I am referring to is Udal Nane Tannai Unararkum Unardarkum Udal Alave Nan Tan Unararku Udal Ulle Tan Unardarku. The key word I want to bring out is Ellayara. At the moment of the attention being totally with the self, there all the limits are off. All the measurements are gone. The infinite self-luminous self which has all the siddhis. It can occupy the length, the breadth, the height. It can occupy all times. It can occupy all spaces without doing anything. That is the nature of self-luminosity. It is beyond all dimensions. So that Ellayara, that Ellayara Atma, that Atma which does not limit itself to any of the dimensions, we limit it to the Deham. We say that I am short. I am actually that self-attentive self. Where is that? Do I have to invent it? Do I have to go and create it? No. It is already present inside me as the center of entire creation. It is already self-luminously shining, having consumed the whole creation and transcended it. Virikadiral Yavum Virungum Virungiya Arunagiri Paramanmave. The Paramanma has consumed all the creations in its expanding rays of light of consciousness. Such a light is our nature. We are one with Arunachala. We are one with the Akanda Atma. But we are reducing it to I am this Deham and I am this Indriya. I am short-sighted. My hearing is that of a 60-year-old. Fortunately, let's say that the ears have also grown just as old as the other parts of the body. We say fortunately and unfortunately and all that. That is what is going to come next. That we have reduced the Akanda Atma to the Indriya. And we say we are short of hearing or just a little bit of deafness. Please speak a little bit louder. And that is all. I don't really need a hearing aid, but please speak a bit louder. So we have reduced that I am a little hard of hearing. There is that incident of the American hands who says to Bhagavan, there is one embarrassment for me that nowadays I am not able to hear what others are saying. I am a bit hard of hearing. And Bhagavan says, why should you be embarrassed about that? Anyway, you have to transcend that Indriya to come to the self. You take it that one less Indriya to be transcended. That is what God has given you. And hands doesn't accept that. You are laughing, Bhagavan, but for me it's an embarrassment, he says, because we reduce that infinite Atma, which is our real nature, to the ear. So the Deham, Purihal, Tihal Gunangal, the Gunangal of the Deham and Indriyas, namely the age or ill health. All this belong to the Deham. They are not there for the limitless, self-luminous self. But we superimpose all that on that by inattentively saying, I am nowadays feeling vexed with my ill health. If one nature of illness goes, another illness comes and occupies. So we talk like that inattentively, is what the verse is saying, that we are Deham, Orihal, Tihal Gunangal, Vinayhal. We said, oh, it's good fortune, bad fortune. So the good and the bad and the good deeds and bad deeds, they are all superimposed on the self, on the pure self, which is Achala, which is Aksharam, which is self-luminous, which is limitless, which is everywhere. It cannot go, it cannot come, it cannot do, it cannot see, it cannot think, it cannot hear. But it is. It has not divided itself into one form. It has not divided itself into an outward perception which perceives the others as the Indriyas are doing. It is not divided itself into action and inaction. But we superimpose all that these are taking place. we should understand the Acharya has not yet come to doership. The doership is taken up in the next verse, and an exclusive verse is devoted for that. But right now, why do we call ourselves this Deham, these Indriyas, and their gunas, whatever the gunas may be, and the actions that we do through the I drove. When somebody says that when I am walking, can I do self-enquiry? Bhagavan says, why do you say you are walking? Why do you say you are walking? What does that mean? Let us see that in the next verse where doership is there. It's very interesting. But then the very act of walking is to be absorbed in the self-attention, says Bhagavan. The Deham, the form, the Indriyas, the actions, the good and the bad, all are to be absorbed in the self-attention, because all these are present in the triad, in the seer scene. Only a seer can see the Deham. Only a seer can see the Indriyas. Only a seer, an individual, can perceive actions. So the seer scene is there, whereas in Atma Swarupa, that division as seer and seen is not there. And we have been instructed, we have been given the Upadesha by Bhagavan in the very first Mangala Shloka of Ulladunarpade, that reality cannot be seen, cannot be perceived, keeping the division as seer and seen. The seer and seen implies that I am here, I am not there. And suppose I feel that you are Bhagavan, the one whom I am seeing on the screen is Bhagavan, then you are there, but you are not here. So though you are Bhagavan, you are there, and you may be in all the things and you are the only thing for me, but then you are not here, I am here. So Bhagavan says the Ullaporul, that which is not divided in the seer-seen relationship. Whereas all these, Deham, Purigal, Tigal Gunangal, Vinaigal, Ahumivai, Ivai Anaitum, all this, the body, the senses, their gunas, and the actions that we see, including the good and the bad, which we superimpose, all these are falsely superimposed on the self, the limitless self, by the Aviveki. There are two verses, I said, 21 and 22, both pointing to what the ignorance does. The first one, as usual, the Acharya has gone the whole way. In what sense? He is removing the Deham, he is removing the Indriyas, he is removing the actions. Now, if that can be perceived, that the very name and form, the Deha, the Indriyas, I don't superimpose for anyone or to myself. I can't say I am without name and form, but they are all, the others are with name and form. No. Obviously, Uruvam Tanayin, Ulag Paramatram. Uruvam Tanandrel, Uvatrin Uruvate Kandurudal Yan. Bhagavan says that if you are a form, you can perceive the others with name and form, including God. But suppose you claim that you are not superimposing your name and form onto the infinite self. You are now in the clear. But you can see that others are all falsely associating themselves. Who is saying like that? Asks Bhagavan. Uruvattai Kannurudal Yavan. Who is the, unless there is a seer, you cannot see the names and forms of the others. So to see the name free, the form free, the action free nature of others, there is only one way. One should free oneself of the Deham, the Indriyas, the actions, and rest there. Just be the self. That is the seeing of the self in all. The moment you say you are free, but you are able to see the others are all still caught up. Hey, he said like that, he said that, so and so is like this, so and so is like that, that person is 6 feet 7 inches tall, very, very tall, and that is why he got selected for this game. Like that, when we say we limit the others, but I am free, I don't associate, I am now completely in the effortless self. But I can see everybody is stuck with their identity, with name and form, with their indriyas, with their gunas, with their actions. No, there one has not completely understood the import of dropping the identity with deham, indriyas, their gunas and actions, and so wrongly superimposing them on the self. There is completely no deham for anyone. That's why it is said the jnani is bodiless. None of the three shariras are identified with by the jnani. The jnani is the pure self. And that is where the verses are taking us. They're taking us towards what is jnana. Jnana is not to associate one's infinite nature, one's self-attentive nature, one's self-luminous self with this body, with these indriyas, with these actions. So that is this verse. As usual, the Acharya has gone the whole way that if you remove the very existence of deha, indriyas and actions, there is no need to work with doership. But he gives us some compassionate outlook and says, suppose you still have not got over with directly removing all these uru, all these forms from the self, at least work on what is this doership. That the doership is really not there. It is only the Atma Shakti which is doing everything. That is what is the next one. Manamam Upadi Marughar Tattva Vinam Maya Ayavatrai Arivinmai Yenum Ayalal Anmavil Karpipar Appalai why near to no, I have gone one verse ahead beyond the Kartrutvam. So let's come to Kartrutvam. Yeah, we are in the right verse. Manamam Upadi Maru Kartatva Vinam Mayai Ivatrai Arivinmai Yenum Ayala Anmavil Karpipar அப்பலைவை நீர் தோன்றும் வான்மதியில் கற்பிக்குமாறு. அப்பு அலைவை, அப்பு is water. Now அப்பு அலைவை, when there is a shaking or the waves on the surface of the water, let it be in a bucket, let it be in a tub, let it be in some small part on top of the surface, there is some shaking. And let's say it's a full moon day and the moon is reflected on the surface, but because of the movement on the surface of the water, we feel that the moon itself is shaking. In fact, if your shadow is reflected on that surface and if you shake the top of that surface, it will appear as though your face or your hands or whatever is being reflected has now assumed a very wavy movement form. Very interesting to look at, but that is the analogy given, that is how we superimpose the kartrutvam, the doership, manamam upadi. So the previously is deha upadi, indriya upadi, and the actions emanating. The manamam upadi, that is what develops the kartrutva, that I have done this. That is, from the mind comes the aggregation of the ego in one sense. That is, I am now speaking. I have, just before I have driven a car about 20 kilometers down to this place for the satsang. And I have walked up the stairs. All these things are there. That is, the previous verse I am not carrying out. That's why I said the Acharya gives us some room to explore this first and then go back. Then go back to the erasing of the Deha Indriyas also. But then if that was not possible in the beginning, at least look at this is what the Acharya is saying. Manamam Upadi Maruvu. Because we are associated with the Upadi called the mind, we have this Kartrutvam that I have driven, I am speaking, I am listening. And what is the connection between Kartrutva and bondage? The Kartrutva and bondage, the connection is that once Kartrutva is gone, bondage is gone. When Kartrutva is eliminated, bondage is eliminated. To what extent is this important? Let's see a little bit after we cover the words. Manamam Upadi Maruva Kartatva Vina Maya Avatrai Arivinmi. The ignorance is what superimposes the doership on the pure self because of the association with the Upadi called the mind. Now, what is the doership? Why is it emphasized so much as a separate part from the previous verse? Because freeing of doership is freedom from bondage. Let us go back to the Jnana Bhumikas that Bhagavan teaches in the Upadesha Manjari. There is a question by Natanananda Swami in the last segment about Jnana Bhumikas. And Bhagavan says that there are these 7 Jnana Bhumikas. One is the Shubhecha, then Vicharana. Shubhecha is realizing the limited nature of or the changing nature of the Upadhi based living. The Upadhi based of Deham, Indriyam, Manas. This Upadhi based living, you are having such a high post. The previous day, everybody has come home, picked you up in car, dropped you in helicopter and done all that. Next day you retire, the identity is dead. You are no more CGM, you are no more MD. Now, what is that Upadhi? I was that. For 15 years I was that, and towards the end, towards the apex of the identities, I had risen to the post of that, and suddenly they are saying, I am no more that. I have to stand with others in the queue, in the same organization. Now, that kind of change, Bhagavan says, the nightmare of it, you are unprepared. And when some sudden change happens, you are now in a nightmare and totally powerless. That is when the Vicharana starts, he says. That the Shubhecha, if it is directly there, that is fine. Otherwise, you may be even awakened by a nightmare, a sudden realization, sudden wake-up call, sudden call to adventure. That is how the Vicharana starts. What is all this? Who am I? Then the Tanumanasi. The Tanumanasi is the weakening of the ego identity. Now, that ego identity is a Mano Upadi. It is created. It is an addition of the Dehas put together. And all these identities, I am CGM, I am DGM, I am father, I am mother. Where do all these go in deep sleep? Are you a father? Are you a mother? Are you a so-and-so? Are you the prime minister? All get dismantled in deep sleep. But we wait till 60 years of age when they say tomorrow don't come to office. And then we feel, what? All these 35 years of such sincere work? And they are saying from tomorrow don't come. What is this? Then we are rudely awakened into inquiry about who am I? Am I really the DGM? Am I really the CGM? Or who am I? Then the Tanumanasi, the weakening of the identity from Vicharana, and the self starts revealing itself there. The Atma Swarupa, the Atma Shakti starts revealing itself. The ego becomes weakened. The Tanumanasi stage. And the next stage is Sattva Apatti, the gaining of the self, or the table is turned around, that one's identity is no more with the ego, but it is with the Atma Shakti. That the Atma Shakti is doing everything. And the Atma Swarupa is everything. Atma Swarupa, knowledge is there, but Anupama is not yet steady. Doership is gone. That is the Brahmavid stage. In the Brahmavid stage, the previous verse has not been carried out. The Brahmavid is not completely freed of the identity with the Deham, Indriyam and the actions. But to be a Brahmavid and with having the knowledge of the Jnana, he has to completely erase doership. That's why Bhagavan says, in Jnana, all the Jnanis are the same. Their Jiva Bhava is gone. What is this Jiva Bhava going? Jiva Bhava is doership. So the Jiva Bhava, I am a Jiva, I am a puppet on a string, I am a marionette being pulled around, that is gone. Because the hand that is holding everything, that is identified with. The power that is holding everything, that is identified with. We see that everything goes on by that one power. There is a shift. The ego gets dismantled to such an extent that the doership is gone. So Bhagavan says such a one will be talking more in terms of surrender, how God is all encompassing. Though Jnana is also talked about, the Jnana teachings also may be there, but such a one, the emphasis will be about the Ishvara Shakti. Then after the Sattva Apati, you have the other stages where the non-attachment, the Padartha Abhavani, the Padarthas themselves, the objects themselves going, and the Turiyaga, the transcendental state coming. What is the important part? There, slowly you are moving towards the previous verse. All forms, all indriyas, all actions are all totally gone. In the transcendental state, nobody has any form. Nothing has been brought into bondage. Nobody is seeking liberation. Nobody is bound. There is only the Turiyaga. There is only the transcendental state. But then, come back to Brahmavid, Brahmavidvara, Brahmavidvaranya, Brahmavidvarishta. Leave the Varishta because he is capable of teaching in Mauna. The other three, they are Jnanis. Bhagavan says they are all self-realized. But then, what is the difference? The difference is that their prarabdha is such that there is a lot of association with the objective world. So since there is a lot of association with the objective world, they will have to use terms of non-doership. They will have, because they themselves will be doing so many things that they will have to say that it is by Ishvara's ajna that we are all doing, which is true. That you go, you the others also see you going, coming. You are not sticking to one place like Bhagavan, the body, I mean. To such a one, the usage, at least for sharing, where the sharing is required, there the usage of Bhagavan being the Shakti will be more, says Bhagavan, in the Brahmavid. Then the non-attachment is in the Asam Shakti. Asam Shakti is the non-attachment. Such a one will be talking more in terms of how to detach yourself from the objects of the world, the actions and all that. Then Padartha Bhavani, such a one will ask, hey, what is this? This problem doesn't exist only. These problems don't exist. How are you seeing them? They are not there. There is only this. So Padartha Bhavani, the objective nature itself goes, and the Turiyaga doesn't need anything. He doesn't need even to say do self-enquiry. He won't even say do self-enquiry. And his Mauna becomes the automatic teaching that is ever present, and the other things are done out of compassion. But then what does this indicate? This indicates that to make the tables turn, to come to the Sattva Apatti from the Tanumanasi stage, from the stage where the ego is weak, but it's still there, to dismantle it completely and hand over doership to the Atma Shakti, what has to be done? The doership has to go. And that is what is dealt in this verse, that we attribute doership. There is a devotee with whom we keep sharing about the teachings of Bhagavan. So the dhyana of Bhagavan, Ramana, how does the tables get turned in dhyana of Bhagavan? Then the Bhagavan's dhyana becomes constant. That Bhagavan is always with us, but as what? As the doer of everything. There is not a moment when you don't remember him. The remembering of Bhagavan becomes natural in the Sattvapati stage, in the Bhakti Marga. What breaks that? What breaks the continuity of dhyana? This Bhakta is a great devotee, but then certain ways of dealing by others. Let's say somebody gets angry, somebody gets displeased, or somebody is totally in a upset mood. Then at that point, the dhyana goes, and we feel that person is wantedly doing this. That person ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. Or we don't even say that. ಯಾಕೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಆಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? Why are they doing like this? That means the Sattvapati is gone. We don't remember the prime doer, God. We attribute doership to another. So the same rule as earlier one. If you attribute form to another, that means you have form. If you attribute doership to another, you have doership. So at that point where we feel somebody is now doing, idan matra avaru tiddukobekkappa. From here, they should definitely correct this. This is not appropriate behavior. That means at that point we have left our dhyana. So we were sharing, see, at that particular point, remember, it is Bhagavan who is making them do like that. It is Bhagavan who is making them act like that. Then what happens? Your dhyana continues. At the point of break, we should remember that this is exactly where I am moving away. I am attributing doership to another. If he is acting in such a way, I lose my composure. I don't remember Bhagavan. I am so totally carried away by those actions, and I feel this must be changed by that person. This is something completely out of order. Now, that is where we have gone away from our dhyana. And we can understand that most of the time, for a practicing devotee, most of the time they'll be with dhyana. That is, most of the actions which were earlier disturbing him or disturbing the team in which he was moving or she was moving, now those areas will be left to the doership of God. They will learn that God is only doing everything. They don't understand. Tomorrow they will understand. Like that will be the conversation in the satsang. That means that person has now shifted the doership of many, not many, himself only, to God. But there are certain instances where that thread of doership comes up. That this person is a doer, that person is, they should not have done like this. What they did is good. Then the thread of handing over to Bhagavan goes. So we were discussing this very afternoon how that continuity is to be maintained. At that point, how to maintain continuity? when we move, we should be alert. When we move, to say that the alteration should be Bhagavan avarannu hinge nadiyavanga ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. It is Bhagavan who is making them act like that. Then that doership, false attribution, which arises from the association with the upadhi called as mind, that goes. So the clear part is, you cannot attribute doership to another and be free of doership. To be free of doership and to be in Kailasa or Vaikunta here and now, the actual experience, not even intellectual understanding, not merely intellectual understanding, the experience should be that Bhagavan is the only doer. There is a power. That is why in the Jnana Marga appears to be free of any reference to Ishvara. But those are the people who come, when they come to the Brahmavid state, they will understand that there is a power running everything. And even their Atma Vichara, they will do only when the Ishvara allows. When the Ishvara allows other things without any resistance, without any doership, they will do that. And when Ishvara allows Atma Vicharam, they will do that and bring the fresh light to move up to whatever. But the clarity is that for the Tanumanasi to become Sattvapatti, or to see the Sattvapatti stage, not becoming, let's say, just to see that there is a Sattvapatti stage already present in the self. To see that, what has to happen? One has to realize that one is not a doer, no one is a doer. And in self-enquiry, how is that doership erased? We have this practice that at the end of Thursday satsang, when the puja team is not there, we suggest to each other that let's do the enquiry. Who is the listener? Who is the listener of Ashtotram? What happens there? Who is the walker? Who is the one driving the car? Who is the one driving the car? That comes automatically with practice of self-enquiry. What are we doing there? What we are doing there is we are eliminating the ego. And this Purana, by its very nature, the Akhanda Atma Shakti, Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shivaha, Purno Vibhati Swayam. If you are self-attentive while driving, who is shining there? Arunachala is driving the car. If you are self-attentive naturally while speaking, who is speaking? Don't know that there is no feeling that there is a separate doership required there. Now, that is how self-enquiry brings us from the Tanumanasi to Sattvapatti. That the doership is first erased, then the asamsakti, the non-attachment. When in satsang, we are with the group of self-enquiry people and non-attachment is being discussed, then it is so beautiful. It is so freeing. When non-objective existence is being, it is even more freeing. When such a group is ready, all we have to do is say that when anything is raised, see that whether the doubt, as Bhagavan says in talks, and as Vasishtha is said to have told Rama, when Rama asks, how did all this, the whole world appear in the self, then I am paraphrasing, then Vasishtha is said to have told, in the pure mind, full of Vairagya, this doubt will not arise. In the pure mind, full of Vairagya, that the world has arisen will not arise. That means where he is, that Upadesham, though it's not exactly Mauna yet, it is in the Padartha Abhavani stage. Padartha Abhavani stage means it does not appear, the doubt does not appear. It has to be extinguished. So Vasishtha is in that particular exchange, in the Padartha Abhavani stage, he is instructing Rama that what you are saying has arisen. How has Maya arisen? It has not arisen, is the experience of the Atma Vichari. So from doership to complete non-attachment, to complete elimination of objects, to complete Turiyaga. And Turiyaga is able to understand the previous verse that Uruvam Tanayin Ulagaparamatram. If you have a form, the world and others have a form. If you are formless, you cannot see form in anyone. Only the Turiyaga Sthiti, the Mauna is there. And that is what we are going to practice till 8 o'clock. That when the ego arises and wants to either identify with the physical body or wants to identify with doership. The thought could be, Nanu innu munde hing madade illa. Nodi, hang madide, I have done like that. Hereafter, I will not do like this. That particular thing I did in a very nice way. That is how I should respond hereafter. That means we are retaining the doership. So, when that thought is eliminated, a little bit we are moving from the attachment to doership towards pure light of the self. So self-enquiry across the board, it removes those thoughts, the objects, the body, the doership, the attachment, and the presence of objects, all are attacked by the Brahmastram directly. And till Turiyaga Sthiti comes, the Brahmastram is not going to stop. We may be Brahmavip and we may be surrendered to Ishvara's order as to when he is going to allow us and happily do self-enquiry. But still, that will be there. The Padartha Bhoni stage will come. The Turiyaga stage also has to be blessed. There is no other way. The transcendental stage also will be blessed. And it is there that the self-enquiry takes us. That is where Kohan and all say, we are one with, I am one with Bhagavan, he says. When Ganeshanana asks, why is your body acting like this? Why is your mind behaving so incoherently? If you, a great devotee of Bhagavan, is acting so meaninglessly, how are we to take any kind of faith? How are we to remain steady in sadhana? And Kohan makes the effort to cut across the upadhis. He says, in old age, the body will become weak, the mind will become disassociated. But am I the body? Am I the mind? I am one with Guru Ramana. He says, across these upadhis, that instruction comes, and again he starts behaving, or his body and mind start behaving incoherently. The spirit inside is one with the Supreme Spirit, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, and that is what is the practice of Atma Uchara. The freeing of the spirit from identifying with the body, with the Indriyas, with the good and bad actions, and the doership. What is the criticality of doership? When doership goes, the self-realization is there, the jnana is there. It's only according to prarabdha, the differences in the jnanis are there. Those who still have lot of prarabdha, lot of work, they will appear to be Brahmavid, and their instructions also will be of that nature. And as we discussed, the Turiyaga will be blessed by the Brahmastram, which is not apart from the Atma Swarupa. As Bhagavan says, that Anniyan Avano, Shankaran Anniyan Avano, Ramanan Anniyan Avano, Atma Vicharam Anniyam Ahumo, Agade. The Atma Vicharam also will get merged into the self-luminous self, which alone is. That is the Turiyaga state. But then let's not worry about that. Let's take one thought at a time. As each thought arises, not pursue it, but inquire for whom is this thought. Let's practice it till 8 o'clock. Then, as usual, it will be our privilege to listen to Akka. Ujjwalji, you can set the time for 8 o'clock. Thank you.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we in this satsang are meditating on the Anma bodham verses. And today, Nandakumar ji has taken us through the two verses which delve on the identification with the body, the indriyas, and then with the mind, and thereby through the sense to the sense of doership, superimposing all these on the self. I remembered a verse of Muruganar Swami. He says, தனக்கென்றோர் வண்ணமில்லான் வடிவம் இல்லான் சராச்சரங்கட் கவ்வெல்லாம் தானே தந்தான் மனக்கென்றோர் மதியில்லான் மறதியில்லான் மண்ணுயிர்கட் கவ்வெல்லாம் தானே ஈந்தான். Says Bhagavan does not have any form. தனக்கென்றோர் வண்ணமில்லான், it has no color, no form, vadivam illan, but he has given form, name, everything to all the beings in the universe, and he has no mind, no memory, and no forgetfulness. But these have been given bestowed upon the beings. Why and how does he make use of all this in the beings, in the living beings, in us? Muruganar Swami says, நினக்கென்று நீ என்று நினைத்திடற்கு, for us to understand that it is only he and it is only for him, there is no other. In order that we may understand this, நீ யாவன் என நிகழ்த்தி, Bhagavan Venkatesan, he said, நீ யாவன் என நிகழ்த்தி Venkatesan, he made me understand who I am. He asked me who I am. By asking myself who I am, he made me understand that he alone is and he alone does. There is nobody else. The supreme actor is one and only one, the only efficient doer. நீயாவன் என நிகழ்த்தி வெங்கடேசன் தனக்கென்றோர் இயலேயும் செயலே தானும் இல்லாமல் செய்திட்ட விச்சை என்னே. What is this wonder, asks Muruganar Swami, that making me ask who I am? He made my very being as an independent entity disappear. தனக்கென்றோர் இயலே இல்லாமல் செய்திட்ட. Then when there is no independent entity at all, செயலே தானும் இல்லாமல் செய்திட்ட விச்சை என்னே. What is this great wonder? Because there is no other doer. In Upadeshasaram, Bhagavan begins by telling us, Karturagniya prapyate palam kanmam payantaral kartanadana aanayal. Kanmam jadam. Kanmam kadavulo. It is not a supreme. The action is not supreme. So, why do we superimpose this on action on the one hand? On the other hand, we superimpose action, the actorship, the doership on the self. That is what this verse is saying. One is that we think that we are the doers. By thinking so, we are superimposing that the limited nature on the self. So Bhagavan, Murugadhar Swami here says, it may appear as if Bhagavan has given us name and form. It may appear as if Bhagavan has given us memory and forgetfulness. But why don't we inquire? He has given us also this inquiry, this beautiful tool to find out who I am. And when we do so, all these superimpositions will disappear. Of course, in Upadesha Undiyar, Bhagavan says, Udal pori ullam uir irul ellam jadam asattanadal undi para sattana nanalla undi para. None of these are the truth. So do not superimpose all these on the truth. And Bhagavan is so sweet. He says, all right, you are superimposing these actions on the self. You are superimposing, you are saying, I walk, I listen, I don't listen. You are superimposing the body identity. Do one thing, get back to the I in that. When you think I walk, ask, who is this I? When you think I listen, that is what Nandakumar ji was telling us. When I am driving, let me ask, who is the one who is driving? In everything, Bhagavan says, if we turn back to that scent of consciousness, if we turn back to that sense of consciousness which he is talking about in the Aksharamanamala, he says, Nyamaliyir Keda, Nane Nurudiya, Nadi Ninnuruven. There is the scent of consciousness. I have superimposed the limitation on the self. But Bhagavan makes that very limitation into a clue to lead us back to the self. He says, forget about the manifestations. In the earlier verse, we were told to drop all that. We were told to drop the objective awareness, to get back to the self, not to see the reflection. Here in this verse, the example of the reflection is given. Jagadguru Abhinava Vidyatirtha Swami has given a similar example. He says, you do not decorate the mirror in order to decorate yourself. So there is no point in looking at the reflection. There is no point in embellishing the reflection. And Bhagavan has therefore said to Humphreys, he says to Humphreys, don't look at any of these things. Don't even bother. Just say strange things are happening in this world. It's a strange world. Strange things will happen in a strange world. Don't give it any credence whatsoever. Instead, turn your attention to what? He says, don't even turn your attention to the process of seeing. Which means, don't even remain as a witness. If I am a witness, I can say, oh, I am watching everything happening. So I have become the basis of the process of seeing. But Bhagavan tells Humphreys, don't even pay attention to the process of seeing. Don't pay attention to the scene. Don't pay attention to the process of seeing, but always pay attention to that which sees, to that alone, he says. So get back to the self by questioning. If anything is moving, if anything is limited, that cannot be my true nature. That is a mere reflection. The moon does not move. It is the water, the reflection that is making it appear to be moving. It is the movement of the clouds, we were told in an earlier example, which makes it appear as if the moon is moving. So let us not pay attention to that which moves. Anything which moves, anything which is moving means anything which is changing. Let us not pay attention to any of these things which are changing. nor the fruits of these changing entities, not the results coming up because of the movement of these changing entities, not the actions, not the tuition, but rather get back to that which sees, says Bhagavan, by asking, who am I? Get back. And Bhagavan says, it may not appear to be easy to begin with, but keep practicing. Don't let go. Keep practicing. Keep practicing. Bhagavan has told that to Mother Aragamma also. Santatam salipara. It may not appear to be easy. It does not matter. Keep practicing. Keep practicing. And gradually, the impact of that, the blossoming of the self in our life, the fragrance of the blossoming of the self will become evident gradually. That too, Bhagavan says, not to be conscious of it. To be conscious of it is again to superimpose the limitation upon that, saying, I have become more, I have become better. So beautifully, Nandakumar says, this is not the first time he is reminding us that we need not worry about whether we have done something right or whether we have done something wrong, or whether we need to go in A direction or B direction. This is what Bhagavan keeps telling us, and Nandakumarji also reminds us, but rather to turn the attention back to the source, the seer, says Bhagavan, and his grace certainly makes it possible. Immediately after Humphreys listens to this Upadesha, he is walking down the hill Arunachala, and there is a set of very angry dogs, somewhere disturbed dogs, or maybe one dog, I'm not very sure about that. There is certainly one dog which is chasing him and about to bite him. But he is very dimly conscious of that only. He is trying to follow what Bhagavan is saying, and his attention is on the self, but he is automatically moving down the hill to, probably then he will take his motorbike and go back to Vellore. And another passerby then stops him and says, Sir, that dog was about to bite you, but you seem to be unaware of it. And now that has gone away. The dog has gone away. Because he was not even aware. He dimly recognized it, he says, but his attention was on the self. So the grace of Bhagavan is that these are not just words that are coming to us, but these become the very experience. That is why he has given us the words, so that our attention on the words will automatically take us to the experience, which is his grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana.
Namo
Namo Ramana to all.
Ramana.